watching the It's Her Time podcast with Cody and Jess. Welcome back to the It's Her Time podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest who happens to just be one of my absolute best friends named Elise Jones. Elise Jones she's just a really cool girl, and I'm going to make sure that you guys get to learn all about her, but she is a yoga therapist. And I feel like there's a lot of us that need to know more about what yoga therapy is and how we can implement it into our life. And so that's why I thought, you know what? I need to have Elise come and talk to us all about it. But before we get into the conversation and before you get to know Elise, we're going to join Jess for a Mixers Girls Say.
On today's Mixers Girls Say, we are going to share our community members' worst period stories again. There's so many and way too many good ones. We can't go without sharing them because it just took us about 10 minutes to get this episode started because we were laughing so hard. So we're going to read through a few. There's some that we're going to pass over, but
maybe too graphic. But we just loved sharing these because I feel like it helps us all feel like we're united. We've all been there. And so if something like this happens to you, like you're going to not be as embarrassed, right? Because you know that we've all been there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I think that it's the funnest thing ever to witness and know a women's restroom or like in a situation where complete strangers can like look at each other and like women can just ask each other like, do you have a tampon?
Oh, I know.
And women are all like, scurrying to solve. So I think that's so awesome.
I told the story a couple of months ago about it happened to me. I'm wearing a white dress.
Yeah.
And here I am at like co-owner of a period company
without anything to use.
Luckily, I didn't bleed through. I was paranoid, but I was like, I could tell I started my period. And all I had to do is go to one person sitting next to me. And I don't know how, but it somehow like telephoned everywhere. And I go to the bathroom and I had 5 women like rushing in with a tampon for me. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a viral effect.
So good.
Okay, so this woman shares, got my first ever period on a plane ride heading to Disney World. Had no idea what had happened to me.
Oh, no.
I feel like it's the first time period stories that it's like, it's where you're going, what you're wearing, and then you're like, and what is this?
Yeah.
Like, it's just tough.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to prep my girls.
Prep your girls.
I do. I mean, I think they're probably well prepped already.
Better prepped than most girls.
But yeah, I feel like it's the shock that is like, what?
They're not going to have the shock, but they're going to have like, you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Just maybe stop wearing white pants for a while. I don't know.
You're right.
Maybe not.
Got my period while I was water skiing with a group of friends and bled all over the boat.
Yeah.
And it's the worst when you're wet.
Oh,
like
it makes
swimming,
it
and
way
then it's
worse.
like
Yeah.
all over the boat.
On the vinyl seating and
hey, at least it cleaned up well, I'm sure.
Hopefully. Yeah. But then you have those freaker boat owners.
Yeah, that are like no food on my boat. No, and whatever. No feet. And you're like boating. Like,
but blood's good.
You're like, it's so fun. They're like, I know. Dripped blood on my boyfriend's white bathroom rug. I ended up stealing the rug. She's like, stuff that in my purse. He's like, do you know why there's a... She's like,
disappeared.
Nothing to see here. Okay. Got out of a ticket because I told a cop I was on my period and was bleeding through my clothes.
It works. Good tip.
Oh my gosh. Okay, last one. My first period was at tennis camp and my counselor stood outside the bathroom stall trying so hard to explain to me how to even use a tampon. I could not figure it out. First time tampon experiences are so painful.
They are. It's uncomfortable.
My sister, bless her heart, taught me how to use a tampon for the first time. Same thing outside the bathroom door. And I was not understanding that you insert the applicator, like
the whole applicator with the tampon in it.
And then like press so that the tampon comes out.
So you're like pressing
I was like pressing without inserting. So then it just hurt so bad just trying to shove.
Oh yeah.
I'm like doing hand. Anyway, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It hurts. Anyway.
It can be confusing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're like, we should make a video, a
how-to video. How do you know how you do that? But
anyway, Thanks for sharing your stories with us. Now we'll get into the episode. Mixers is a company made for women by women. Each of our products have been carefully and lovingly crafted to support you in all stages of your life, providing you with the optimal health you deserve. Each ingredient we handpick is 100% all natural, backed by science, and chosen specifically to better your life physically, mentally, and hormonally. Each product empowers your body to take charge of its monthly hormonal shift and flows, empowering you to live life to the fullest. Let Mixers take care of your needs from sunup to sundown, and you take care of the rest. Check us out at mixers.com, MIXHERS.
All right, well, let's get into the conversation and let you girls get to know how awesome Elise is. First of all, I have to address the elephant in the room if you are watching us on YouTube. We have only one microphone today, so we're sitting a little extra close, but that's good because we really like each other a lot.
Yes, we do.
We really do. And so, but I'm excited for you girls to see why I love Elise so much. And I'm so excited for you girls to learn from her because she's got so many good things that we can implement into our life. So, but first of all, let me just be done talking and turn the time over to Elise. Say hi. Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm excited to be here. I'm Elise Jones, as she said, a yoga therapist. I also teach roller fitness on roller skates. Yes. And I just enjoy life. I enjoy, I feel like when we all go through really hard things, and everybody does, everyone has their hard things, but learning to implement how to get through those hard things in a healthy way has changed my life. And that's what I try to share with other people is I've been through things before and just knowing what to implement. And it doesn't mean that it works all the time or I'm happy all the time, but just finding the new zest for life and trying new things after going through traumatic experiences is a whole new outlook on life.
Yeah. Let's share if you don't mind.
No.
I'd love the audience to know because I love that you went there and that you're like, everybody goes through really hard things.
Yeah.
You are going through majorly hard things right now. So tell us a little bit about what you've been having to deal with.
Okay. About 6 years ago, I had open heart surgery and then my heart was really great. And then 2 years ago, this month, actually, I was life flighted with stage D heart failure. So my heart just decided to stop and not function anymore. And so that's something that I'm dealing with. I'm stable now, thanks to, correct lifestyle and which is, medications and things like that and implementing healthy things that I didn't realize are more beneficial. Like just, you don't think about a lot of the things that I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. So instead of thinking of my life as restricted, I'm actually really joyous and happy about this regimen that I have because it's working and it's keeping me healthy and happy. And so it's been really hard. And then I recently had a lung resection in December. I had the lower part of my lung removed and just dealing with that. And, I say this all the time that there's physical heartbreak and emotional heartbreak. And I've had both. And I know for a fact that emotional heartbreak takes a lot longer to heal. And when you're in physical pain or physical trauma, there are things to implement that can help you physically get through that in a healthy way. And then emotional and mental trauma, it can be a lot harder because you're just down and you're just not thinking that anything's going to help. But I promise it will.
Yeah. I mean, okay, Elise has just been somebody that's been amazing for me to watch go through a lot of really hard and scary things. Stage D heart failure is basically like if you were to say you had stage 4 cancer, right? It's the last stage, right, of heart failure.
Yeah, but I'm stable at this. My medications have pulled me out of that to where I'm at a stable point. Mm-hmm. And we'll just, see how long that lasts.
Yeah. And it has to last forever because that's what would I do without you for sure. But I'm just so grateful because not only is she willing to talk about this and which helps people to be able to relate to her so much, but she does it in such a positive way. She does it in a way that gives us a lot of hope and helps us realize that we have, that we can feel empowered and we can really determine how we deal with the hard things that come our way. And I know that people know what yoga is, and I know people know what therapy is, but I don't think a lot of us know actually what yoga therapy is and how it is that you've been able to use maybe some of the tools that you have, the things that you teach other people, how you've actually been able to use that in your own life.
Okay, so first of all, to explain what that is is all yoga is therapeutic. I think everybody knows that. It's all therapeutic. It's our responsibility, as yoga therapists to explain the difference between therapeutic yoga and yoga therapy. So that's an actual title. And it's basically a liaison between, say, psychiatry and psychology. It's not talk therapy. And so when someone starts going to that place, I'll refer them to a specialist that can do that. I'm more of a liaison between a traumatic experience and then helping someone live a healthy life on their own by implementing self-soothing techniques. So, for instance, trauma that's stuck in the body, yoga therapy helps move the trauma through the body physically and through movement and through breath work. And I know that's it is yoga. It's similar to yoga class, but the difference is yoga therapy is specific to that specific person's ailment. For instance, PTSD or specific trauma or whatever it is we'll put together a tried breathing patterns, specific movement to help that person relieve that trauma through their body physically. And then what happens very commonly is people will start talking to me and telling me their situation. That's fine. I'm there to listen. But when it gets to a point where I can tell them, this is outside of my expertise, that's our responsibility to make sure that there's a difference there between making sure that they get the help they need in that specific way. But moving trauma through your body physically and through breath work is extremely important, and it really can help you feel better and relieve physical symptoms.
Yeah, it's absolutely a part of what we need to do if we do have healing, that no matter what it is that you need to heal through, movement is a powerful method to do that. I know that personally, I have been through different types of, whether it's yoga or other types of movement, and I've been surprised that sometimes doing so has actually brought forth some emotion. And it's like, what am I crying about right now? Or what is it that's, why am I feeling like this? I'm not really doing anything that warrants this emotion bubbling up. But as I've learned a little bit more about what Elise just was kind of explaining, is that a lot of times, like emotional things like trauma or things like that, they get trapped in our body if we don't process through them the first time. And so many times the symptoms that we feel and the ailments that we suffer with can be associated with like unreleased emotion. And so as a yoga therapist, you're not only, helping them to be able to like have good strategies as far as lifestyle strategies go and helping them stay active and doing those things to help support health, but you're using the movement in a very strategic way to help them to be able to release through some of these things maybe that are still trapped. Is that right?
Yeah. And gosh, excuse me. Can you imagine if we had self-soothing tools as children in our lives? Because we're using these things now. Our day and age, it's no longer taboo to go to counseling or therapy when you need help. And, a lot of, especially childhood trauma, sometimes your brain can suppress that and then it manifests itself 25, 30 years later. And now we're dealing with this situation that was never dealt with way back when. And I dare say it's kind of our age group that we didn't actively go to therapy and get the help that we need. And it wasn't very accessible.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't
very
out there.
Different. It was very much like you had the connotation that like, if you were going to therapy, you're literally laying down on a couch and you were talking to somebody that was just like not talking back to you, but was taking notes.
Or you didn't want to tell anybody because that meant that there was something wrong with you.
Yeah, it was like you were ashamed. And now I love that it's something that's way more accepted. I personally think everybody should be going to some kind of therapy. Yeah. And it's just good to know that there's a lot of different types of therapy because we're all different. We're all bio-individuals. So hopefully those of you that are listening today that maybe have never heard or even known that yoga therapy is an option out there, this might pique your interest. That might be something you can look into, and it might just be exactly the kind of therapy that you need. I think that that's amazing. But yeah, self-soothing, that's something that like we all need. And actually as children, that's something that's kind of already geared in us. Like we know how to self-soothe. That's a thumb sucking, right? That's like us as children knowing how to calm our emotions and calm our fear. And sometimes those self-soothing techniques kind of get like pushed out of us in a way, like they become unacceptable. And so, we're told to not self-soothe. But I think that it's really important for us to know that there's ways that we can do this. And you'll find that children that are better at self-soothing themselves just are much more emotionally resilient kids because they know how to handle the stress, how to get them through a stressful situation and give themselves kind of those safety signals that we talk so much about on this podcast. So
yeah, well, and you know, the pandemic was a big opportunity that I saw that the majority of people that came to me or asked for help were parents for their children and teenagers, because all of a sudden, you know, we were all thrown this whole new way of life, and kids didn't have a way to deal with that. And so that kind of forced an opportunity to learn how to self-soothe. And I became a yoga therapist because I went to yoga therapy. And this was after literally 8 trainings in yoga. And I do teacher trainings, and nothing that I had learned in yoga therapy was anything I had learned in my teacher trainings.
Interesting.
And so all these different genres of yoga that, yes, there's breath and of course movement and all these, the brain-body correlation and all of this stuff is part of that. But yoga therapy was just opened these doors of, wait a second, I didn't realize that I could actually regulate my central nervous system. I could do all these things because it didn't get deep down into that path. And so I don't know why it needs to be a separate entity from a yoga training or yoga practice. But so my goal as a yoga therapist is to eventually never be needed. Where if we learn how to tie our shoes, we learn how to read and write, but we don't learn how to self-soothe that well. Excuse me. So, just by giving the tools to self-soothe and then eventually never being needed, that's my job. So if I'm still doing the same, and I say this very tactfully, very carefully, not to offend anybody, but if you're constantly digging up dirt inside of you all the time for years and years and years, it's time to try something else, and it's not moving on, because whatever happens to your trauma is part of your story. But eventually, when you learn how to self-soothe and self-regulate, eventually what used to really hurt you or bring symptoms from your mind and thoughts into your body, you can eventually look back and say, I remember when that bothered me. I remember when I thought about this and I felt this way and it triggered this and this. But eventually by learning how to process that in a healthy way, it becomes a memory rather than something that hurts you.
Yeah. And I think that's what therapy should be all about, is it's about learning and growing and progressing. And I feel like the same way as a coach. I mean, I wasn't a therapist, but sometimes you feel like you're a therapist anytime you're working with people, right? Because they're just opening up and sharing so much about what's going on in their lives. It is like therapy. So it was something though that I felt the same way, is like, I want to help people, empower them with the right tools. It's kind of how I feel about with this podcast, is I want to share tools so that you girls can utilize them and implement them into your life, and that it's going to help you to progress and to grow. It's not so that you always are dependent and making sure like you're not going to be able to make your next move without getting guidance from me or somebody getting guidance from Elise. It's really, that's what a good therapist does, is they really empower you to take these tools and implement them in your own life.
Yeah. And like anything, it's a choice.
Yeah, it's like a choice. I mean, I think so many of us realize that we really can make a choice, and it's about mindset, right? And having positive choices that help to make it seem possible for us to feel like we can progress, that we can grow, that we're going to be able to get from point A to point B in a very healthy manner. So anyways, I want to dive in a little bit more too, Elise, because I think that it's fun that you're using yoga as a way to help people kind of move through some of the things that they're working through. But you also do a lot of things that are really fun and creative and kind of tap into people's like joy. Right? That's like a huge part of it. And I love this because one of the things that's so fun about Elise is that a couple years ago, like I bought a pair of roller skates because I decided that was something that was like reminded me of my childhood and made me think of something like that I loved to do back when I was a little girl. And then when I met Elise, and then we found out that she is not just like thinking it's fun to roller skate. She's actually really good at roller skating, and she's so cool. And so I love that. So tell us how roller skating has been something that has been an important part of your life and why.
Well, first of all, when I was diagnosed and my life had to change a lot, I get fatigued very easily, medications hinder things, and there's a lot of things that I can't do But just my personality, I just focus on what I can do. I've always kind of been like that. And I just had that emphasis even more. So very luckily, my doctors had said, if I could choose 2 things for you to do, it would be yoga and roller skating because it keeps your heart rate.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Roller skating. They had that on the list.
Well, because they knew I did that.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Yeah. So let me start with that.
Okay.
They didn't just come up with,
go
roller skating.
Writing down. There's your prescription. Learn to roller skate.
Well, for instance, I can't just do HIIT classes anymore or go on a run in the heat. Anything that's going to spike my heart rate up drastically and then come back down. So roller skating and yoga pretty much keep my heart consistent, but still elevate it to get the exercise I need. And I still get, I might be skating some days 10 minutes at a time and take a 20-minute break off and on. Other days I can skate for a full hour. I don't even notice I had to take a break, but it's just fun. And there's no way you can feel sad in roller skates. And so I was very fortunate that I could still do the things I love to do, but skating specifically makes you feel fun. And just like you said, things from your childhood that just feel nostalgic, that made you feel fun. Why do we stop doing that?
Right.
I have a squishy collection.
She does.
I play with silly putty.
Like squishy toys.
All the fun things just because I want to feel that way and I want to feel fun. There's no reason why we need to stop doing joyous things. People that are skateboarding, people that do all these amazing, cool things. And it's like, there's other people that might say, oh, I did that when I was 14.
Right. But why did you stop?
Why did you stop?
Yeah. And I think that that's part of the way that this is effective.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be roller skating or whatever, it's that these are things that take us into the moment. They bring us back to the present moment. And one of the things that is so important, and especially if we are dealing with like chronic stress or we're dealing with trauma or we're dealing with things that are leading to dis-ease in our body and our mind and our spirit, one of the best things that you can do is bring yourself into the moment, because when you're in that moment, that gives you an opportunity to tap into your parasympathetic nervous system or state, which is your rest, digest, and reproduce state. And that's where we heal. That's where the healing happens. So if you are needing to heal from something, you need to get into that state instead of the alternative is the fight or flight or the sympathetic nervous state. So it's so important. So like these things that like Elise is doing and she shares and does personally herself for her own healing, but then also encourages all of us to do are actually healing modalities, finding things that bring you joy.
Right. And when it comes to depression and severe feelings of anxiety, all these things. And first of all, stress and anxiety are 2 different things. So stress you can name, anxiety you can't. But I think we've all been in a place where we have felt these feelings and felt depression or felt severe anxiety that we just feel we're stuck. And one of the greatest tools that you can have or things that you can do is making the choice to have a hobby.
Yep.
Doing something that you enjoy doing. So for me, yes, that's roller skating. For someone else, it might be puzzles. It might be sewing. It might be painting. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be some crazy active thing. It could just be something that you really enjoy, that you may not know that you're good at something unless you put yourself out there and say, I'm going to try this. I'm going to go take a class. I would like to learn that. And all of a sudden, you recognize how you feel when you're doing that. And you can actually change your mental and emotional state because you made a choice to do something fun.
I absolutely,
creative.
Yeah, it is what can help us to get into that state where it's possible for us to heal. And I think that, as we get older, we kind of think sometimes like, we don't have time to have fun. We don't have time to, or we need to be responsible adults now. Right. And we need to, do the hard stuff. And we kind of put the fun stuff, the joyful stuff on the back burner, thinking that it's not a priority. And don't you think that is probably one of the biggest reasons that so many adults are struggling with disease and with anxiety and other things, is because we don't make that enough of a priority when it comes to our health and our well-being. And so I definitely think it's something so important.
Yeah. And Carl Jung had said a long time ago, this quote that I absolutely love, that I just memorized just part of it. It's longer than this. But he basically said that the greatest disservice we can do to our children is the unlived lives of the parents.
Oh,
and I love that because, I think some of us can look back and think, I don't think my dad would skateboard. I've never seen my mom do a belly flop or a cannonball, you know? But I think our generation, our kids have. You know, I think we're
probably too much.
Like just you can be like being playful and having your kids or having people just see that you're playful, that rubs off on people. And that kind of shows that you don't have to stop enjoying yourself just because you're older and you have this proper job and whatever. You know, it's find something you enjoy doing. And I think that's something I'm just going to say, that's what attracted me to Cody is nice. Like the day that we met, we just had this banter and this laughter, and a big part of healing is finding your circle and finding your people and not feeling bad by putting up healthy boundaries. In fact, sometimes what I've learned is the most detrimental things that have happened to me that have been very traumatic and very hard for my family and for me have been the moments that help me recognize what really matters in my life. And I no longer felt bad eliminating things that didn't serve me well, or cutting out relationships that that don't love me back or that no longer serve me well without feeling bad about it. You can do it. You know, you can move on and kind of tighten your circle in a kind way. It doesn't mean that you're being mean, right? But find the people that you notice how you feel when you're with them. It doesn't even have to be this, you know, a specific conversation, but just notice how you feel when you're with somebody and gravitate towards that. And then eventually you can find that joy within yourself and kind of be your own best friend and say, okay, I don't necessarily need someone else to make me happy, but I really feel good when I'm with this person or with these people. And my circle's gotten pretty small and I actually quite dig it. It's great.
You dig it. It's great. Yeah. I mean,
I'm, you know, I love people.
You do. You're a people
let's
person.
Not take that
people
the wrong way.
You. Right. I get what you're saying.
Let's not take that the wrong way. But it's like, how do I've had to make a choice of how and with whom I spend my time. And it's, you think about it. Like we all have a timeline, but when you really have to think about it, it's like, I'm not going to worry about trying to people please.
Right.
I'm not going to worry about what someone thinks of me if I know in my heart that I didn't do anything to hurt somebody or whatever. You know, it's just having this positive outlook.
Yeah, exactly. It is like what you mentioned before about it's a choice. And when you have moments in your life that maybe put things into perspective, priorities become extremely clear. You realize what it is that is serving you and supporting your health and your well-being the most. And the things that we've already talked about so far, just in this, you know, little short time we've been on this episode, are things that are so key, you know, things that are like movement, working through emotion, and doing things that bring joy and express your creativity, and finding the relationships in your life that really fuel you and build you. That's so, so key and such amazing medicine for sure.
Yeah. Something I've really enjoyed studying and sharing is called PTG, or post-traumatic growth. And I love this thought process because it's not keeping you in this awkward or illness or dis-ease state. It's a mindset of, okay, I have these tools and built these tools for resilience. And now I'm going to put them into use and put them into practice, which is post-traumatic growth. So learning to say, I choose to have better relationships. I want to be out and about doing fun things. I want to learn new skills. I want to learn new hobbies. That's post-traumatic growth. Saying, you know, no matter what happened to me, I don't have to stay sad. I don't have to stay in the state of life and with an excuse, well, I have this, so I'm this way. I behave this way because of this. You can make a choice.
Yeah.
It's not easy,
no,
but you can make a choice, and that changes your physical growth, your spiritual growth, your social growth, all these things that turn this traumatic experience into growth.
Yeah. It's what makes your life, you know, it changes your life experience. And I know for me, and I think this is what, you know, Elise was kind of getting at when we first met each other, what I recognized in Elise is something similar to me. The thing that gives me the most anxiety in my life is that I am not going to live my life to the best ability that I can. And I want to live it. I want to taste it. I want to feel it. I want to go through it. I want to learn from it. I want to live life. And I recognize that in Elise so much, that that's very much who she is to her core. And I just absolutely love it, and just knew that she was my kind of people. And you're my kind of people. We all care about this, right? This is something that we need to keep reminding each other, that because it's hard. Sometimes you get through you get through each day, one day at a time. And especially when something hard really happens to us, and we can feel like victims, we can feel very debilitated. We can feel like we are being stopped in our tracks. And we cannot always see like how we can get through some of these things that feel very hard. But it's so helpful when we can have these kinds of conversations, when we can learn from somebody who's actually going through such an incredibly hard moment of life, but she's showing us how we can still live even though. And it's a beautiful thing. And I love and appreciate that about you.
Well, thank you. You can wake up, everything's a choice, like we said before. You can wake up every day and be mad, or you can wake up every day and roller skate. Or you can wake up every day and make a choice to say, I'm tired of feeling this way. Mm-hmm. And I do give myself, I call it a dark day.
Yeah.
I do give myself, it used to be once a week. Thankfully now it's maybe twice a month, where I allow myself to be really mad and irrational and sad and cry it out and why me, all of that stuff, because it's reality and it's real. You don't have to be happy all the time.
No.
I worry about those that are, but
that's true.
But in order to feel the happy and to choose the joy, you have to know the difference, and allowing yourself to feel the sad. Eventually you get to this point, or I get to this point where I'm like, okay, I'm tired of feeling this way.
I know, it's exhausting.
Now I do want to choose to feel better because I've released it. I've not let those feelings take root and take hold of me. They can manifest into something much worse later on because I've processed it in a healthy way. Yeah. And I do the breathing, and I do specific meditations. And when I'm in a space to choose to do that, after I've allowed myself to say, today's not the day.
Yeah. Today is not the day. And that's okay. Like you're saying, we don't want everybody out there being positive Pollyannas all the time, because that's not real.
Don't suppress it.
Don't suppress it. I think that's the whole message, is that it's about expressing it. It's about doing these things that we've mentioned, whether it's through the creativity, whether it's through the movement, whether it's through relationships, experiences, trying new things. You are expressing all of the things that are inside of you. And that is how it should flow. That's what is, that's what leads to health and a happy life, right? So,
right. And mental health is the choices you make and how you handle stress. Emotional health is how you process through the emotions and how you actually feel the things that are happening at the time. So they go hand in hand, and it's really important to express emotions in a healthy way. Meaning you can be mad, you can be sad, you should be, like all these feelings, but just in an appropriate way to where you're not causing harm to yourself or someone else.
Yeah, and recognizing that these emotions and these feelings are just that. They're not a definition of who we are or what our life is about. They are...
Yeah, you're not your trauma.
We're not our trauma. And we can feel it, and we have every right to have the whole, gamut of emotions, and we should, because that's just part of how we express. But it's also doesn't have to stay it doesn't have to be what defines us, and we don't have to stay stuck in our emotions. Right. And if we do feel like we're stuck in our emotions, then implementing some of these tools that we're talking about today can be really helpful. I wanted to kind of gear the conversation to something that I know is really popular now, but I think when you and I kind of started doing some of this years ago, it wasn't. And I think people kind of thought that it was kind of crazy and that it was dangerous. And I'm talking about cold water therapy. Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk and get into this. I know this is kind of a weird segue, but it's something that I felt for me. It was a way for me to be able to practice being in a stressful situation and being able to be more resilient, be able to work through stressful situations so that I can be better prepared when anything comes my way. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because I know you're a big believer in cold water therapy.
That's exactly what it's for. That's what it does. And so everyone calls it something different. And every country in the world has been practicing a cold plunge or something for centuries and centuries. So Wim Hof popularized it in our day and age. But in yoga, it's called Ishnan hydrotherapy. And there's a way to do that in the shower, even places on your face where the water beads hit your face can help you to feel, can help wake you up, can help put you to rest with the cold, with that beating on your face. and on your chest. In the cold water, I implement that a lot myself, as well as with a lot of yoga therapy clients, because that is the one go-to meditation that people are afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
And once they actually do it, especially going through trauma, when you feel out of control and you don't feel like you've had control of your life, that's one place that you can say, okay, I'm choosing to be in this uncomfortable situation, and I can breathe through this and remain calm. And all of a sudden, you are in control of how you react. You're in control of how you feel. And it's incredibly empowering. And I actually did it today. I did this afternoon after class. And I took people with me that I'd said, hey, after class next week, whoever wants to come with me. And so these two women came with me today, and one had done it before and one had not. And she actually wanted to go back in.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how that fear all of a sudden turns into resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the mental health of it and the emotional health of it. It actually helps your skin. It helps your central nervous system. It helps your, your vessels. Your body flushes through toxins. It helps you sleep better at night. It helps your immunity, your immune system. There's so many benefits to it, but the mental and emotional benefit of it is allowing yourself to be comfortably uncomfortable and say, I'm okay not being okay, and taking that lesson out of the cold water, and now you implement it into your life. And I feel the same way about a yoga practice. It's a moving meditation. So we purposely put our bodies in this uncomfortable space, in a very uncomfortable position, and you're holding this position and it's difficult, or this stretch, you're feeling this tension. But implementing the calming breath, like the eye of a hurricane, is calm with all the stress ripping around it, that you are teaching yourself to remain calm in a stressful situation, telling your brain that even though your body is in physical stress,
mm-hmm.
that your central nervous system is calm. You don't need the cortisol. You don't need to be doping yourself, because your breath is changing that. Your brain tells your body what to do, but your breath tells your brain what to do first. So with the cold water, again, you're putting yourself in this stressful place, but you are in control, and it's incredible.
It's so incredible. I do think, though, it is important to recognize that if you do this cold water therapy, that you're doing it for the right reasons. I feel like nowadays it's kind of something that's really popular on like social media and things, and it's more of like a challenge, right?
Or called a plunge, or people jump in, and automatically your body's natural response is going to be all the blood goes to your organs to keep you safe. And your breath changes, and you're doping yourself again with that cortisol. So there's a methodical way to do it, and a process of how to do it. And I hate to say correctly, because it's not like there's one way to do it. But in order to receive the benefits of the calming and the self-control and all the health benefits from it, there is a specific way to go about the breathing and
mm-hmm.
going into it without potentially being hypothermic or
right. Right.
Or just not being smart about it.
Yeah, I think that it's the difference between it being therapeutic and beneficial to you, as opposed to just being like something that gives you an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
If you can utilize it and do it, I will say the right way, in a way that is supporting your health and your safety, it can be so life-changing. It's something that once you've tried it and you've done it, it's something that you'll want to do again and again, because your body, when you can learn how to overcome that immediate stress and calm yourself in a stressful situation, it gives you tools. It's a tool that helps you in so many other areas of your life. And so I love that Elise will take groups of women and go do, or people, not just women, but go and do this with them and kind of guide them through it. When I've gone with people, my biggest thing that I always tell them is to focus on their breath. If you can literally start inhaling through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth, it's a safety signal to your brain that you are okay, that you're not in danger, and you will feel yourself relax. And I know that there's like some recommended amounts of time that you should be in this cold water, but truly ease into it, just build up to it. It's the time that I've been told is the most beneficial is 11 minutes, but that may be way too long for some of you. And some of you might not even feel the benefit yet at 11 minutes. So it's so individual. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Especially if you're doing it outside, the time of year matters.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually a good time to learn how to do it when it's not as freezing cold and the weather's a little bit better. It's a great time to learn how to do it appropriately. I will say appropriately.
Appropriately. There
appropriately.
We go.
And
to do it appropriately. I like that word. That's a better way to say that. It's something that, again, it can be just a tool that you can put in your little tool, belt, and something that you can just refer to. I know that there's a lot of tools that are out there. These are some of our absolute favorites that we personally implement in our life and that you share with your clients when you work with them. Do you have any others that come to your mind that you would love to share with the audience?
Yeah, I was actually just remembering from what you just said, a thought process around this is I consider breathing patterns and meditations very similar to a food. And let me explain.
Okay.
So if I were to eat a strawberry and my body's reaction is to salivate, break it down, I really like the taste, so I want more. You may eat the same strawberry and break out in hives or spit it out. You don't like the taste or allergic, whatever it is. So the same substance can do very different things for different bodies. So just like you were mentioning, this is this, I've heard this is the magic time, this 11 minutes. Someone else, that could be great.
Yeah.
But for another person, that could be not so great and create feelings of anxiety. Or I even hesitate saying, okay, this specific breath pattern is good for this, even though it could actually cause feelings of anxiety in someone else when it calms me. So it's important to try different ways to self-soothe, and whether it's breath patterns or meditations, in my field specifically, to understand what your meditation is, what works for your body, what time works for your body, instead of just saying, well, this is what I heard, this is what I read, this is what so-and-so does, so this is going to work for me. Listen to your body.
Yeah, it's like what we've talked about in the past on this podcast about specific exercise protocols. Like everybody is different. We're all going to respond differently to different exercise plans. Just because it works for somebody else doesn't necessarily mean that it's meant for you. And so I just would say it's about practice. It's about even when it comes to just meditation and breath work, at first it might feel very uncomfortable. It might feel like it's not helpful. It might be causing some anxiety. But just know that the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. So if you are interested in implementing or trying any of these tools that we're talking about, just be patient with yourself, be loving to yourself. Don't think of it as something that you're going to fight your way through. It's more beneficial to you if you do it in a way that is giving you that self-soothing, feeling, that self-love feeling where you're benefiting from it. Because truly, if you're feeling stressed out and it's causing more stress in your life, it's causing more problems, more disease.
Right. And people quite often will say, well, that's not going to do anything. Breathing, really? So we're so used to a tangible substance, or, I'm feeling this way, I need some chocolate, or I need some, whatever the substance is. And I'm not anti-medication. I'm not anti-anything. It's just whatever works for your body. But to be able to say, let me at least try it and see what happens. You will be amazed at coming back into control over something as simple as your breath can change your world, where you may not need to take that, whatever it was that you're used to doing. In fact, one of my rotations years ago in yoga therapy school was at the Veterans Hospital. And a friend of mine that was running the program at the time, he had told me that the veterans that chose to implement yoga therapy practices, specifically breathing and movement, eventually got to the place where I call it taking your meditation. I always say that, it's time to take your meditation, where instead of getting so used to this reaction or throwing something or, it's this time, I'm feeling these things, I'm going to take this pill, they started implementing these practices, and their medication addiction, that's a strong word. Their medication usage, I should say, went down by over 60%. Just because they learned how to self-soothe without a tangible substance. And so that's how powerful the breath can be in regulating the chemical balance in your brain.
Yeah, you girls know how I feel about this. And I don't know why this is a controversial statement, but because it's true. But we are self-healing machines. We really are. Our bodies know how to heal. If we can give them the right tools. And like Elise said, sometimes those tools are medication, but many times there's things that are even, a little more naturally accessible to us.
That doesn't need to be the first thing.
No.
That's what our society...
Or the only thing.
Right. The first thing that we go to is, I need some ibuprofen, or I need this medicine, when maybe that's the last thing, to try. So,
yeah, it could be exacerbating even the problem a little bit.
Yeah.
So, this is fun. It's a great conversation. You can see why I love Elise so much. I would encourage you all to go and follow along with Elise on her social media. She has an amazing presence there. She's somebody that's always positive. She's very generous. She will lead you often on her social media through meditation.
Yeah, Mindful Mondays.
Mindful every Monday.
15-minute breath work every Monday.
For free. Yep. You can go and enjoy it. And they're awesome. I just love your approach too, because you're not the typical, yogi. You know what I mean? I love all my yogis out there. I'm a yogi, but you
can laugh.
You can have fun. It doesn't have to be so serious all the time. And it's joyful. Yeah. I love that. And she does a lot of teaching around the community here where we live, but she does a lot of things that are available online. She's on an app where you can actually follow along and take yoga classes from her. Anyways, all the ways that you can connect with Elise, I'm going to put them in the show notes so that you can definitely, connect and be her best friend too. So anything else you want to share?
No, just my love for all of you. And I understand the process of feeling lost sometimes or not knowing where to look or what to do. And I appreciate that Cody talks about all this stuff and gives you this information and has other people come and share with you. And I'm not just plugging the podcast, but it really is an amazing resource of ways to help yourself heal, to help yourself soothe, and just positive choices that you can make for your own body and your own health.
You can plug the podcast
there you
all
go.
You want.
Plug it.
And you can plug the podcast all you want because it helps so much because as you know,
it's amazing.
Knowledge is power.
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to share here. And sharing is caring. And every time you girls share episodes like this that are so fun to listen to and that we learn so much from, it's helping our podcast to grow. And it's helping more and more women that are out there looking for solutions and looking for the guidance that maybe they haven't been able to find before. It also allows us to be able to invite amazing guests to come on who can share their expertise with all of us. And so I encourage you girls, send this to your best friend, send this episode to your mom, your sister, whoever it is that is a girl in your life that you love the most. And I hope that you continue to tune back in every single Tuesday because we always release these episodes every week on a Tuesday. We're on all podcast platforms and we are on YouTube as well, which is really fun because then you can see the behind the scenes of things that are happening or who it is, what we look like, when we're talking. So exciting. But yeah, we love this. We love you girls. We love our community. If you want to be more involved in our community, we encourage you girls to go and sign up for our Mixers Girl community. You can go on our website, www.mixhers.com. That's MIXHERS.com. That's where we're going to keep these kind of conversations going. It's also a place where you can be in the know about any upcoming events that we put on. We like to do a lot of community events because Mixers is so much more than just the supplements that we provide. Yes, that is a big part of our health and it helps to support us in healing. But so much of the good that comes into our lives as far as our health is concerned is the people that we surround ourselves with. It's our community. And that's you. And we're really grateful for you. So until next week, I hope you girls have a very happy and healthy week. And I'll look forward to our next conversation. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.